AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people.
Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon show. Bring it!
Let me ask you this question. I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, to an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is their
right.
Yes. The right that someone has. All of our rights exist in context.
What is the context of a second medical opinion?
Because you're disrespecting the process.
No.
Jesus, this is common sense, man.
Any situation which you seem to do, you're just dealing with Afro-Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing. And if two, you can't put forward a future, a blueprint, and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Hello there. Pleasant Wednesday evening to you. This is not going to be, for want of a better word, this is not going to be one of our typical shows. When your show or your discussion or your narrative is about one of civilization's most heartbreaking tragedies, it's not your run-of-the-mill program. So this is not one of our run-of-the-mill program. What is going to come out of this program for the next hour is going to be heartbreaking, and it's going to be one of history's most abominable tragedies. You look at your screen and you can see from the ambience we're dealing with the Palestinian genocidal tragedy. If there are anyone in Guyana keeping alive in the consciousness of Guyanese what is happening to the helpless Palestinian people in Gaza, it is the three persons that are sitting down here. To my immediate left, Shamal Zamaluddin has been holding a one-man picket, vigil, rally, whatever you want to call it. One person, him and the skies and the sun alone at the junction of Vicindian Road and Lamaha Street, or a little bit more up, Vicindian Road and Dowden Street. He's been there for the past 4 months. Just this guy alone. To his left is one of the most committed persons to exposing the Palestinian tragedy. This is his fourth appearance to bring to Guyana and its people what is taking place in Gaza. And since we've been here, the tragedy has become very, very, very unusual in human history. And in the far right corner, although we're not using that word in any political sense, she's certainly not far right. Certainly not far right. She can easily be described as left wing. That is Maryam Perreira. The name Perreira may sound unfamiliar to you. You look at her, you can see she's Middle East. She's from Lebanon. She's Lebanese and also has Guyanese nationality. But she's married to one of Guyana's most enduring political activists and perhaps the longest serving Pan-Africanist in the Caribbean, Mr. Gerald Perreira, who is the leader of a party called Organization of the Victory for the People. She's also part of the BDS, Boycott and Divest movement. She'll tell you about that. So we're here to discuss 2 years, this next week it's 2 years of one of the world's worst tragedy. Do you realize there's no war in Gaza? It's not appropriate to describe it as a war. A war is an engagement of two countries' armed forces, Marines, Air Force, ground battles. There's no army and Air Force and tank battalion in Gaza. It's just the Israeli bombing the people for the past 2 years. Now it's got worse. They just intend to bomb anything in sight. So as we speak, they're bombing where people are sheltering. Thanks for being with us, and we hope you give your total embrace from your heart, soul, and mind. The embrace of the Palestinians and what's happening to them. So, we start with Sister Maryam Perreira. We go alphabetically, and let her bear her soul to you as a Lebanese, as a Middle East person, what is happening to her fellow Middle East people in Gaza. Sister Maryam?
You know, I want to start by saying that for me and for all of us, we feel so helpless. People are saying to me all the time, what can we do? And I want to focus today on what we can do, because there is a lot that we can do. People say, what is the point of coming out and protesting in Guyana? It's a small country. We're not the enablers of the genocide. I mean, if we were in the US or the UK or some of the other Western European cities, it would be more effective. I disagree. I think that this is a global, it's become very clear that the only way that this genocide and this apartheid state of Israel is going to be brought down is by the people. And people all across the globe are rising to the occasion. I mean, in their millions. Recently in Japan, you had 3 million people in the streets. You know, I mean, all across Europe and Africa and Asia, it's huge. The demonstrations everywhere are in the millions. So wherever I am in the world, and I've lived in many different places, I've been an activist all my life, and wherever I am, I believe in holding down our corner. So it doesn't matter how small we are. In fact, we are calling for a national march in solidarity with Gaza, and that will take place on October the 11th, Saturday, October the 11th, which is about 12 days away. We're assembling at Umanayana at 10 a.m. And, you know, let's make it the biggest march Guyana's ever seen. Now, you could say, what's the point of coming out and marching in Guyana? There's a big point, because Guyana's not a country that's been known in recent times to come out in very big numbers in protest against international issue, in solidarity with international issues. If it's huge, if we all come out, believe me, the women and children in Gaza will hear about this. You know, Nelson Mandela spoke about when he was in Robben Island in solitary confinement. He heard about the demonstrations everywhere. So it's about holding down our corner, and I want to talk about the whole significance of Gaza right now. You know, the term Gaza in spiritual, in Islamic spiritual terms actually means strength and power. A Ghazi is a warrior. So it's no accident. Gaza has become a symbolic, you know, a symbol of resistance. It's a microcosm for everything that's wrong with the world. So in Gaza we have the scourges of imperialism, of neocolonialism, of repression. We find those everywhere. Even right here in Guyana, we suffer from the scourge of imperialism and the neocolonial arrangement. We all know that. We struggle against it, many of us. So these issues are not something that are just happening over there and have nothing to do with us. But the thing about Gaza also is that it's kind of leading the way now. As I said, this kafir and the whole battle in Gaza has become a symbol of resistance, because it's calling on us not on the basis of religion, of gender, of race. It's across all of those things. It's across culture. It's calling on us based on our shared humanity, because this is a genocide and it's got to stop, and it's only the people of the world that can stop it. So I'm saying, when you say to me, when so many people say to me, what can I do? We can't do anything, we're powerless. No, we're not. It's important to understand that the first call for sanctions against the apartheid state of South Africa was in 1959. And apartheid was formally disbanded and stopped in 1994. We're only 2 years, well, we're not 2 years, we're 75 years into the struggle, because what's happening in Palestine today and in Gaza didn't start 2 years ago, as you all know. It started, way back, 1948 and even before. So it's a long struggle. But what I would like to say, I would like to pay respect and salute the resistance and the people of Gaza. With all that they've gone through, with the horrors, and I don't want to sit here and talk about the horrors, because people have seen enough of that. They see it daily on their screens. With all of those horrors, the people of Gaza are saying, we're not tired, we refuse to move. They will not leave their land. The world has never seen a resistance like this. It's an incredible example of resilience and faith and courage, and they're teaching us all how to fight. So I say the least we can do is show up at the march for them. Let's make it the biggest march the Guyanese scene. Let's thousands of us go into the streets, because of course that will reach the Israeli regime, it will reach the US empire, it will reach everyone. It will be looked down as if to say, wow, even small Guyana, where the marches are not usually huge in number, look at them on the street. They can't ignore this global people's movement. It's huge and it's having an impact. And I want to talk about BDS, because that's very important, but I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Come back to that.
If you, for the past 4 months, if you've been driving in your car, riding on your bicycle or your motorcycle, you would have seen Shamal, Zamaluddin. Yeah. Shamal is there alone with his placard for 4 months. It's 3 times in the day he is there. 8:15 to 9:15, 12:15 to 1:15, and then he goes in the afternoon, 5:15 to 6:15. For 4 consecutive months, this is a Don Quixote at the corner of Lamahar Street and Vicindian Road, bringing to the people of Guyana the tragedy of Gaza, and whatever he wants to talk about the 4 months there. Here is it now.
Okay, thank you. There are moments in history and realities in our world that demand our attention, our empathy, and our action. And one such reality tragically ongoing is the suffering of the Palestinian people, a genocide by the demons and psychos of Israel, supported by America and Europe. When we look at the immense challenges the Palestinians face, the displacement, the loss, the constant struggle for basic human rights, it can feel overwhelming. We see the images, we hear the stories, and a profound question echoes in our minds. What can we do? What good is our voice, our small effort against such a colossal injustice? And that's precisely it. We do what we can do. This is all we can do. And for us, for many of us here, that means to speak the truth, to speak for justice, to speak for humanity. Speaking isn't just about uttering words. It's about amplifying voices that are silenced. It's about breaking through the noise and the misinformation to shine a light on the human cost of conflict. It's about reminding the world that behind every headline, every statistic are real people, families, children, artists, dreamers, enduring unimaginable hardship. To speak truth means we're educating, We are inspiring. We are fostering connection. We are building bridges of understanding. We are reminding the world that the human spirit, even in the face of immense adversity, yearns for peace, for freedom, and for justice. So yes, being on the St. John Road might feel like a drop in the ocean, but remember, an ocean is made up of countless drops. Our voices, our collective efforts, they contribute to a wave of awareness and advocacy. They are a testament to our shared humanity. Let's continue to do what we can, continue to speak, and to show our love and solidarity with the people of Palestine. Because in a world that often feels divided, our most potent tools for change are our most potent tools for change. Let's remember that resistance to tyranny is obedience to God. And I end with the words of the Lebanese poet Khalil Gibran, whom I love.
Khalil Gibran.
Yeah. Western thought sees power in armies, battleships, submarines, airplanes, and poison gas. But Eastern thought asserts that power lies in reasoning, resolution, and truth. And no matter how long the tyrant endures, he will be the loser in the end. Thank you.
Exactly. And has been throughout history.
Shortly after the Israeli began to kill people in Gaza, Hasseb Yusuf was in the studio, and we would never believe, and the world would never believe, when we did that first program, that we will go on, that the genocide will go on for 2 years, and there is almost nothing left in Gaza. When Hasseb graced the studio to talk about what was going on, I don't think anyone believed that it will be 2 years now, and 6,000 to 7,000 people, mostly women, children, and babies, have died. Do you know there's been no history, there's been no violent military engagement in the history of civilization where in 6 months so many doctors, lawyers, journalists have been killed? Looking back at thousands of years of history, the Israeli genocide in Gaza probably will wait after slavery as the second worst atrocity in the history of civilization. So I asked Hasseb if he had any thought that when we sat here one night, one evening, and broadcast this program, he would have believed that 6,000 to 7,000 people have died and they're still being killed every day.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that reminder. Actually, the time when we spoke, there was the so-called red line of entering to Rafah. Rafah is finished. There is no building remaining in Rafah. We thought that was a red line. Biden said then that that's a red line for us. The Maroon armies went through, they destroyed everything, they killed countless people, and they demolished the buildings, and Rafah is just an empty space. That's that is supposed to be a site for the new concentration camp. And we know that Israel has always been very brutal. It's a brutal settler colonial project, and but we didn't expect that it would have been allowed to happen for so long. And this kind of casualty, this is the first time, unfortunately for us, this is the first time that humanity actually is witnessing a live stream genocide. We heard about Rwanda, we heard about that, we saw some images, we used to read about it. Same thing with the Holocaust. We read about it. There weren't a lot of eyewitness reports. We had print media at the time. Now we have social media. Now it's live stream, and it's horrendous. We see all of the images coming out of Gaza. We are seeing the starvation. We are seeing people dropping in the streets. We are seeing the signs of death everywhere. We are seeing the destruction. Nobody of conscience in the world can say we didn't know. We all know. We are all witness to what is happening, and we are obligated in our own way to do something about it. To do something, to pray. I usually put in my post, pray, post, protest, to do BDS, to do something. We are obligated. All of our countries are signatories to the Geneva Convention on genocide, and it requires of every person to do something. The states that are signatory, those who can do something, should do something, are obligated to do something, and the citizens of those countries also are obligated to do whatever is within their means. And so we have the global, one good thing that came out of all of this after 2 years is the solidarity among the people of conscience of the world, the peace-loving people of the world. We have been able to pull ourselves together, and in every part of the world, like Maryam said, in this corner of the world, we have to hold our fort. We have to play our part. We can't allow this genocide to go without protesting, without talking about it, without doing something within our own means to stop this genocide, because this is against our own core humanity. So yes, I didn't expect it, but we're heading for the second anniversary, and we have to continue doing what we're doing. It's having an impact. It's having an impact, and we are going to see the impact of that. It's what we know for sure is that the world public opinion has turned against Israel.
Absolutely.
And it has exposed all of the falsehood, all of the deception, all of the lies. Everything is exposed now. They can't hide anymore. So what we're demanding now is accountability.
The mere fact is that, excuse me?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the mere fact is that most of the people in the United Nations this week just walked out on Benjamin Netanyahu, which means the world is on our side. Right?
Absolutely.
So this is it.
And I think there's a number of things here to remind us all of. First of all, to recognize our power, because it looks like, if you saw Trump and Netanyahu yesterday at that hideous press conference where they announced what is a hideous plan, a board of peace to govern Gaza with Donald Trump at the head and Tony Blair is joining. This is a board of war criminals and genociders, and obviously it can't come to fruition. But, they come out with all that bravado, but actually the reality is that we are living in very challenging times. They're challenging because we're living in the midst of the decline of the hegemon, of the decline of the collective West and the US empire, or as you said, demonic force. It's been a very demonic force for hundreds of years, and it is coming to an end. Trump is presiding over that decline. So they come out with bravado, but I can assure you behind closed doors, they're in chaos. They're in absolute chaos. There was a time when everybody supported Israel and very few people knew about the Palestinian issue. The situation in the United States, which is the biggest enabler of this entire genocidal war, has completely reversed. They're terrified. It's even clear now that they probably took out Charlie Kirk. They just can't afford for this new narrative, because this new generation is not supporting Israel. Israel can never recover from this. They can never recover from this. This is the beginning of the end, and Palestine will be free. Now, people say, when I say that, people say, oh, Maryam, look at the situation. Gaza's rubble. These people are in power. They are in power. But, if I had have said to you in 1959 or even in 1985, Nelson Mandela will be the president of South Africa, people would have said the same thing. You know, as Brother Shamal points out, history shows us that the oppressed always overcome. The price is high, yes, but we understand in Islam that out of everything negative, there comes good things as well. And because of their faith, the people of Gaza know that as martyrs, they live on. So they know what this is about. They understand that this is a fight to death. And we need to support them. Now, I just want to focus here on the BDS campaign, because BDS was a huge factor in bringing down the apartheid regime in South Africa. Why? Because it hurts them. Yes, everybody went to the UN.
No, I have to tell them what is BDS.
Boycott, divest, and sanction. So we want to end. I'll move on to that now, because we saw at the UN, we saw speech after speech, wonderful words, speeches of condemnation. Our own President Ali condemned, was very outspoken in his condemnation. But I'm sorry, I have to agree with President Petro of Colombia. The time for nice words is over, and we need to take action. Now, BDS is a very powerful form of action. In fact, recently they tried to, the US Congress tried to fast track anti-BDS legislation. I mean, different states across the US have already got anti-BDS legislation, but they were trying to fast track a bill that would actually, if you were found to be boycotting or advocating the boycott of Israeli products, you could be fined $1 million or jailed for 5 years. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that BDS is really effective. It tells us that that's what they're concerned about. Because, as we always say, follow the money. This is an economic project as well. This has got deep economic. I mean, when you actually look at boycotting products that are associated with the apartheid state of Israel, it's overwhelming because they're connected to everything. So we really need, now we at BDS Guyana, we've put out the information. There is online, you can go online, there's a huge list of international companies, KFC, Wendy's, Burger King,
Starbucks.
all of Big Fast, all of Big Fast, Starbucks, all the big fast food, all the big companies associated with Empire. We need to boycott them. Coca-Cola, all of them. We need to hurt these people economically, and it's very impactful. But here in Guyana, it's been a little controversial, as it always is at the beginning, because, of course, we're a small country. We don't want to hurt our own business sector. Many people don't want to hurt the business sector, but we have to, because this is a genocide. We have to hurt. We have to make sacrifices. We have to struggle. So we've targeted DDL because they have partnered with the LR Group to set up a dairy farm. The LR Group is an Israeli-based company that is very close to the Israeli government, and they've partnered with them to set up a dairy farm here in Guyana. Now, that call for boycott will stop if DDL is prepared to reconsider, because these people are genociders, they're murderers. I think it comes down to, maybe DDL is saying, we're not political. Look at someone like Candace Owens in the US. Candace Owens was a supporter of Israel. What made her turn? She said what made her turn was that nothing justifies the killing of more than 20,000 children.
Then there's an extreme right-wing Congresswoman, Marjorie Green.
She's come out. She's the one that stood against the legislation that was trying to outlaw.
And then there's Charlie Kirk. We have to talk about who killed him.
Yeah, well, exactly. But, what I'm saying is there is a lot we can do. Don't be disempowered. We've seen through history, as Brother Shamal said, that the oppressed always overcome. That's what happened when Nat Turner took up arms.
So BDS is important to Maryam. Microsoft recently stop supplying their technology to
the cloud software.
Yes, a number of companies, because they're hurting. And you know what happens when we hurt them economically.
Francesca, in her last report, the special rapporteur on the Palestinian territories, she identified 50 big companies, transnational corporations, that are profiting off the genocide.
Exactly.
So not only are they supporting the genocide, they are actually making
Profiting.
profits off the genocide.
And-
And so the ordinary people around the world, we have to understand the importance of the BDS efforts in order to stop Israel from what it is doing, the genocide, the occupation, and as well as the atrocities that they're committing all over Palestine. The apartheid system in Palestine itself, where Palestinians are living by different rules, like in former apartheid South Africa. So it's not only about killing Palestinians. It's
No.
about a system
An
that
end
is
to apartheid.
is apartheid system within that is entrenched within the society, and Israel has to behave civilized. The world has to tell Israel and pressure Israel to behave civilized. You can't go rogue anymore.
No.
You can't go rogue anymore. You have to pull yourself back. And yes, the Palestinians are paying the price. They are paying a very big price. 65,000 people. That's very, very
Conservative.
yes, underestimated. That is what they
680,000.
yeah, it's a huge amount of people.
Especially
And,
when you take into account the people who are buried under the rubble, the missing
Absolutely,
persons,
absolutely.
the people who have died from cancer and other fatal illnesses because there's no medication, the forced starvation. People are putting the figure at least 500,000. But before we move on, I just want to name another couple of local companies. Now, I'm going to call the name of E-Networks. BDS Guyana is in the process of sending them a letter. We want to sit down with them. Now, they are partnering with Heights Telecom, which is an Israeli company that develops and manufactures platforms for DSL fiber and 5G, and has ties with Israeli telecommunications provider Bezek. Now, Bezek actually supplies rapid development communication for the IDF. It maintains infrastructure for Israeli military bases and checkpoints, and it provides services and infrastructure to the illegal Israeli settlements and military facilities in the occupied West Bank and Golan Heights.
But what is wrong with them? They leave the whole world to partner with an Israeli company that is...
So I just want to say here that we are in the process. We're happy to meet with any of these companies. We're not against the companies per se, and if they are willing to cut ties, this is big, because if they cut ties on the basis of what Israel is doing, this hurts Israel. This is direct action. This is how we can support the people that we're crying for every day when we see them on our screens. And of course, our own Ministry of Agriculture is partnering with a group called Carlico Incorporated, an Israeli-based firm, to produce a hydroponic project here. So, these are the three local targets. And also, I would just like to say that, yes, President Ali condemned the occupation of Palestine and the Israeli genocide at the UN. But like I said, we are saying words are not enough. And we are asking, as citizens of Guyana and Caribbean citizens, so we're asking Guyana, the government of Guyana, and by extension CARICOM, to actually cut all diplomatic, economic, cultural and sporting ties with this genocidal, demonic regime. Now, is that a lot to ask? I mean, this is a regime that is murdering, slaughtering women and children. If we can't, I know there's pressure. I know that the Guyana government, with its relationship with the United States, is pressure. But if we can't take a stand on this, what would we ever take a stand on?
Exactly.
I mean, if they actually came in to slaughter us, would the government take a stand, or would they defer to the empire? I mean, there comes a point where you have to have the courage to take a stand and do something meaningful. And boycott and sanction and divestment, that's meaningful. That hurts the Israelis. That was a huge factor in bringing down apartheid South Africa.
I don't know if your husband told you, but We have known each other as activists for more than 50 years. And now I see it. Now I see a little bit of him in you. A lot rubbed off there.
Well, I'd like to say this to you, Freddie. Actually, I met my husband in Libya. I never even knew at that time, I hardly knew where Guyana was, but I saw him speaking on the podium, and I asked someone, because he's a very good speaker, I asked someone, who is that? They said, it's Gerald Perreira, he's from Guyana. And I thought, Guyana, where's that again? And, you know, that's how we met. So I was already... he did.
But I don't know you. I know him.
Yeah. Well,
when I look at you and how you perform,
he's taught me a huge amount. I mean, he's an educator and an incredible scholar. But I was an activist. It was two activist meetings. Absolutely, I was a revolutionary.
The activism of both of you brought you together. Shamal.
Yeah. Okay. What I like to do, because standing on the road for 4 months, many people have asked all kinds of questions like, was there ever a Palestinian state? So what I'd like them to do is this. Go online and look for this book, A Jewish State by Theodor Herzl. This book was written in 1896. Now, some of the crazies who stop by me, they say God gave the land to the Israelites. I said, okay, let's go to this book. Here is Theodor Herzl. Looks like Benjamin Netanyahu. They're all lunatics. Now, here, I just want to quote this from the book. Shall we choose Palestine or Argentina? We shall take what is given to us and what is selected by Jewish public opinion. Nowhere in there is God. The society will settle both these points, not God. Argentina is one of the most fertile countries in the world, extends over a vast area, has a sparse population and a mild climate. The Argentine Republic would derive considerable profit from this cession of a portion of its territory to us. That's all the Zionist is concerned about, profit at the expense of human life. So I'll skip over to Palestine is our ever memorable historic home. So they say. The very name of Palestine would attract our people with a force of marvelous potency. Supposing His Majesty the Sultan were to give us Palestine, we could in return pledge ourselves to regulate the whole finances of Turkey. So I just quote to you there a small piece telling you that these Zionists, and Herzl was not a Jew. He wasn't a practicing Jew. He's a Zionist, an atheist.
An atheist, yeah.
So they were given this state of Palestine. So the people who come to me and keep querying, was there ever a Palestinian state? I'll also point them to the Bible, Genesis and section 21, where it says, the land of the Philistines. The Bible is 2,000 years old. So there you have it. Palestine always existed. And I also want to share with you that the US, they have this pretense that Israel is operating on its own. No, it's not. Israel operates 6 vetoes.
Yeah.
Israel operates on billions of US dollars a year. Yeah. This is how they work. So let's have some history. I just gave you Theodor Herzl. Let's go to American history. The late US Senator Jesse Helms argued the military foothold offered by Israel justifies the expense of American military aid, billions of dollars a year. And he called Israel America's aircraft carrier in the Middle East. Amazing. Yeah. So who is prosecuting this genocide in the Middle East? Is it Israel first? No, it's America. America is prosecuting the genocide. So I'll come back to that in a moment, right? Let me hand it over.
This is all facts, yeah? And like I said, the genocide has unearthed, has revealed all of these facts. I mean, people can just go and research. There's so much that has been written. Khalidi book came out 100 Years War on Palestine. The history by Israeli historians, Ian Pape, numerous
Nico Peled.
Avi, the Iraqi Jewish historian. All of this stuff is on YouTube. All of this stuff is readily available. They have been doing conferences. They have been writing. They have been condemning the genocide. They have been talking about the history, the real history of Palestine, the history of the Nakba. They spoke about John Meishimer. He wrote a whole book on the Jewish lobby. I spoke about the books that I read on the Jewish lobby in America, how entrenched it was. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, Paul Finley, they dared to speak out, silence no more. They have been talking about the Jewish lobby, and Paul Finley said that when the Americans wake up to the reality of what the Jewish lobby is doing in America, they might react worse than Hitler. This is an American congressman who was saying that at the time, and now John Meishimer is saying that clearly in his book, how much the stranglehold the Zionist lobby has over the United States of America. And this is why the MAGA supporters, the right-wingers, the Christians, are saying, wait guys, this is what is happening to us. We are supposed to be the leading the superpower, but we are under the control of Israel. And so we have to disengage. We have to let our politicians know that we cannot accept this anymore. So this has caused, and this is where Charlie Carr came into the whole picture, because he started to be very vocal, very critical. This is the man who
I think Mossad is involved in
these guys were instrumental in
American journalism is not digging. It's not digging.
Donald Trump to power.
Right, but the independent journalists. I mean, I think we can use this platform. Thank you very much for giving us this platform. I think it's
available anytime.
Yeah, well, I think there are some myths that we could debunk, because I think for a lot of people, they're being bombarded with false narratives. First of all, this whole Hamas, you know, this is not a battle between Hamas and the State of Israel. There are 6 distinct Palestinian resistance groups. They're part of the Alliance of Palestinian Forces that was formed way back in 1993 in Damascus, because they disagreed with the Oslo Accords, and we can see why now, because the Oslo Accords were a con. They were there to placate us all, and this group of militants saw that, and they formed the Alliance of Palestinian Forces. So Hamas is one of the largest groups in the resistance, but of course there's Palestinian Islamic Jihad, there's the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, there's Fatah al-Yasir, known as the Palestinian Freedom Movement, there's Palestinian Mujahideen, there's the Popular Resistance Committees, and there's even Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. That's a Marxist-Leninist oriented group, and they are led by the late Dr. George Habash, who was a Greek Orthodox Christian. And then there's the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, founded by Hawatmi, and that also is a Marxist-Leninist oriented group. Well, of course, Marxist-Leninist as it is in the Arab world, because everybody recognizes the metaphysical. It's a Marxist-Leninist group.
I think what people need to understand
Palestinian
resistance is legal. It's covered under the international law, that they have the right to resist, even to do arms resistance against occupation and against the theft of their land and in defense of their people.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying, though, that they're trying to frame it as Hamas, because they want to to couch it in this framework of something called Islamic terrorism, whereas, as Brother Hasseb rightfully points out, this is a legitimate resistance. Now, people say to me all the time, and not just here, all over the world, but what about what happened on October 7th? I mean, you know, all that stuff about chopping up babies and raping, well, we know that was nonsense.
All that has been
debunked completely. In fact, we know now that most of the people killed on that day were killed by the IDF. But let's just look at it this way. This is the largest concentration camp on earth, and it is a concentration camp. The people are trapped inside. This didn't start in the last 2 years. The Palestinians have being murdered for as long as Gaza existed. I mean, it's been ongoing. Thousands of Palestinians. It's just every day. I mean, my daughter is in Lebanon at the moment. She's working there and she's living with my family there. And she said, you know, despite the so-called ceasefire, almost daily there are drone attacks in Lebanon. People being bombed. Only 2 weeks, I think it was like maybe not even 2 weeks ago, a Lebanese family who were driving in their car were wiped out. 3 children and a father. And the one child and the mother survived. They were in critical condition. Whatever that survived means, because when your 3 siblings and your father's wiped out like that, the trauma. I mean, we're talking here whole lineages have been wiped out. Whole families have been wiped out. There's no more of them. Their whole entire lineage is gone. So, you know, we need to debunk that myth, because I think, as Gerald pointed out, and I think Norman Finkelstein pointed it at the same thing out. Look at Nat Turner. Then we must condemn Nat Turner. We must condemn Nelson Mandela, because he stayed in prison for 27 years because he refused to denounce his people's right to armed struggle. So, you know, this is, as you say, Freddie, this is something recognised. They have a right to resist because of what's going on. I mean, we're talking about, I think it's 48 Israeli hostages. More than close to 10,000 Palestinian prisoners, many of them women and children without trial. What are they? Are they not hostages? And they're constantly subjected to the most outrageous, horrific torture, forced starvation. I mean, that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the forced starvation of a people. So, you know, any talk about October the 7th is out of line now. I mean, it doesn't even make sense, you know.
So I want to get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Of course.
We can talk about the torture and the evil that's committed, but where does it come from? You see, in Torah HaMelech by Rabbi Yitzhak and Rabbi Yusuf, they speak, or they give examples of the deep racism embedded in Israeli culture, because the world has woken up in horror. How can people do all this evil? How is it possible that we occupy a world and you can kill babies, kill pregnant women, shoot people in their knees so they can't walk? Where did these demons come from? Well, I'll tell you. The book provides rabbinical advice, like if it's religious hocus pocus maybe, to Israeli soldiers and officers in the occupied Palestinian territories. It describes non-Jews as uncompassionate by nature. So when they look at you, they're like grasshoppers, and justifiably exterminated to curb their evil inclinations. If we kill a Gentile who has violated one of the 7 commandments of Noah, there's nothing wrong with the murder. These are the mentality of these lunatics in Israel. It's the whole of Israel. It is not Netanyahu. It is not Gallant. It is not Ben-Gvir. It is not Smotrich. It's the whole society is rotten to the core. These rabbis assure troops that it is morally legitimate to kill Palestinian children. When you hear that, what do you think? What goes through your mind? My goodness.
That we need to bring these people down quickly.
Yes.
That's what goes
and
through my mind.
they write that there's justification for killing babies. Now listen to this. there is justification for killing babies if it is clear they will grow up to harm us. Now, how in heaven's name you can look at a baby and say that baby will grow up to be, in your eyes, a terrorist? Unbelievable stuff. But these are the kind of demons we're dealing with. And when people like myself say Israel should be wiped off the map, I'm not a terrorist. I think America and Israel needs to be wiped off the map. These are the two genocidal nations. America was founded on the slaughter of millions of Native Americans. So they have no right to lecture the world on human rights. The book goes on, if the babies are going to harm us, and in such a situation, they may be harmed deliberately, and not only during combat with adults. The biblical prohibition on murder, Yitzhak and Eliezer Wright, refers only to a Jew who kills a Jew, and not to a Jew who kills a Gentile. That's us. Even if that Gentile is one of the righteous among the nations. Unbelievable stuff. But this is the mentality we are dealing with here.
I want to ask Hasseb and Maryam, because Hasseb lived for a number of years in Saudi Arabia. You have traveled the Middle East. You look on your smart TV or smartphone, and you're seeing in Europe, as you in your opening statement, in Italy there was a huge demonstration. But the Arab nation, when you compile them, there must be more than 200-300 million people. There is just nothing going on in those places. Before the TV comment, Maryam, I'd just like to advise you. I know you're a very, very fiercely independent woman. We had a Jordanian guest here who was supportive of the Palestinians, and she had a few words to say about Jordan. And Jordan State Security contacted her and asked that we take the program off completely. We had to do that for her physical safety. So on my question, if you can just not say anything about Lebanon, I don't want you to get into any problem when you visit Lebanon.
I get into problem whenever I travel, so you don't have to worry. And I would not want it taken off the air because I'm not afraid. I'm afraid of Allah. I'm not afraid of these mortals. They're weak. This is the problem. We see them as so powerful, but they're not powerful, and they're declining and coming down as we speak. But I do want to clarify that. But first of all, I just want to pick up on what Brother Shamal has said. He's absolutely right, but I think that we need to be very clear about making the distinction between Jewish people and Zionists.
Yeah.
They're two different things. As you can see, all over the world, there are Jewish people, Orthodox Jewish people, saying not in our name. We completely reject what's going on, and we believe. And I also want to talk about one of the reasons why this alliance of Palestinian resistance movements came about is because the two-state solution is bogus. It's there to placate us. And we've seen that now because Netanyahu has come out and said we never, ever intended on any two-state. And a two-state solution doesn't make sense. I mean, you're still going to be, you're never going to have self-determination. You're going to be a landlocked, you're going to be at the behest of the Israeli. It has to be one state with equal rights. And that's what it goes back to, because all of the monotheistic religions at one point existed peacefully in Jerusalem. It's the home of all the monotheistic religions.
That's right.
So this imposition, it's also, apart from the whole, Jews having a homeland and an ethnocratic state, it's also an outpost of imperialism.
That's right.
It was put there by the imperialists to dominate the Arab world, and it doesn't stop at Palestine. I mean, as you see, Israel has a plan for Greater Palestine. Greater Israel. Sorry, they have a plan to take everything, and that's what they're moving towards. That was why, and part of that plan was to get rid of the regimes that would have stood up now. Libya, Muammar Gaddafi, Iraq, Saddam Hussein, etc. So this is a big plan. It's been on the books a long time. But I'm just going to say about the what was your question again?
Why
the Arabs. I would like, sorry, not to cut you, but I want to say one thing. As an Arab here, I want to say this. People say all the time the Arabs. I don't know what you mean by that. We have the axis of assistance. That's the Gulf states, which have been propping up the empire in Israel for decades. I mean, they're ridiculous, they're hideous. The UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, etc. We have Jordan and Egypt, very disappointing. But please, let us salute what is one of the most extraordinary axis of resistance that we've ever seen.
Yemen?
And that is the Houthis, they're Arabs. And they're probably the only country in the world that has actually enacted the genocide agreement, you know, the anti-genocide resolution, UN resolution, because they are saying we'll stop when you stop the genocide. When the history of this period is written, the Houthis will be the Ansar Allah, that means servants of Allah. They will be the heroes. They are the heroes. We've got the Iraqi militias, extraordinary resistance. We've got Hezbollah in Lebanon. Paid
in your home country.
Paid the ultimate price and couldn't be more proud of what they've done. They stood up from the beginning and they're still standing up. They're trying to demilitarize them. And if you heard, Naim Qassim came out the other day and said never. And the Israeli army don't want them demilitarized because the armies in the Arab world have been weakened by the imperialists. And they know they can't stand up to Israel without Hezbollah. You know, you had some militias in Syria. You have the Palestinian resistance. These are all Arabs. So when you say the Arabs, like I said, we have the axis of assistance, we have the axis of resistance. Just similar to the Caribbean. Look at the Caribbean. I'm in the Caribbean now. I mean, we wish that everybody in the Caribbean would stand up to US imperialism, to the neo-colonial arrangement that keeps us in a state of dependency and persistent poverty that allows the plunder of our resources. But we don't have that. We have those who support and those who fight against it. That's everywhere. So, you know, I just want to say it's not the Arabs, because there's a lot. This Arab resistance is awesome. And don't forget Iran. Iran is not Arab, it's Persian. But you know, I have to salute the Iranians. What they've done is extraordinary.
Yeah, they're not going to touch them anymore.
No, and people say, you know, the Iranians should do more. The Iranians should do more. See, they're not thinking strategically, because if the Iranians do anything to give the Americans an excuse to bomb them back to the Stone Age, then where will the rest of the resistance be? We need Iran to be standing, because Iran is supporting everyone. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I think Israel wants a war with Iran.
Absolutely.
So, and Iran is not buying into it. Because once they start the war, the Jewish lobby is going to force the US government.
I mean, Freddie, you've got to congratulate the restraint of Hezbollah, of Iran, of even Maduro in Venezuela, because they're trying to provoke him into a war. I mean, they're blowing up ships in his waters that there's no evidence of those, that they're definitely not carrying drugs. That's been debunked. The whole drug thing has been debunked. But he's holding firm, because we all know by now throughout the global south. We know these tactics. We've been to this rodeo before. We know how they try to provoke and lead us into these wars, and we're not going to be led that way.
Yeah, I know Iran is not going to buy that.
No,
Iran
we
is
can't.
not going to buy that.
We've woken up, and it's great.
I see, but we still should have had. We should have had the volcanic outburst of Arabs on the street in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Morocco. Where are they, man?
They tried, but the armies have stopped.
They have effectively
been crippled by
they
the
have
armies.
crippled the Arab streets.
Yeah, they have.
The Arab streets, the Arab leaders in the past used to be concerned about the Arab streets, not anymore. So over time, the Arab streets have gone silent. And that's a lot of repression.
There was one time the Arab Spring that overthrew Mubarak in Egypt.
So what,
the guy in Tunisia.
what we want, what we are going to see happening now, is exactly what happened the other day, in where the Israel made it very clear, our goal is not only Gaza, our goal is not only the annexation of the West Bank. Our goal is Greater Israel, and Greater Israel means you have to invade, right? And you have to take over. You have to annex the Sinai. You have to annex the Golan Heights, which they have. You have to annex parts of Syria, parts of Lebanon. You have to go as far as the borders with Saudi Arabia. You have to get into parts of Turkey. and they were dead serious,
Yep.
right? They are still, that's their goal.
I want to ask you as time goes, all three of you, if you could think strategically on this. If the U.S. attacks Iran, of course it's David and Goliath, but could Israel survive? Wouldn't Iran, in the conflict, wouldn't Iran have to attack Israel?
Well,
and it's just 8,000 square miles with 8 million people. So I'm asking in the equation of a U.S.-Iran engagement, why would Iran just leave Israel alone?
No, they wouldn't actually.
No, they wouldn't. I mean, I can ask you a question. Why do you think they haven't attacked Iran? Because as you say in the Caribbean, as we say here in Guyana, monkey know what limb to jump on.
Yeah, right.
You know, the same reason they can't attack North Korea. I mean, Iran has actually established itself as a deterrent. They can't. Because if they attack Iran, the whole of the Arab world, I mean, Iran will immediately retaliate against the US bases in the Gulf states. It's chaos. They know they can't attack Iran. They would have done so by now if they could. And Iran showed them gave them a small glimpse of their power.
Yeah,
That was nothing.
I mean, you're talking about a
compared to the
country
weapons
that
they've
is
got.
8,000 square miles. You realize intense bombing in a few hours could destroy 8,000 square miles. You live in Guyana, you're Guyanese. I think the East Coast may be much bigger than 8,000 square miles.
Yeah, and they know it. That's what I'm saying. This is paper tiger country we're entering now. We think these entities, the US empire, Western Europe, and Israel, are so powerful, but they're not. Think about it. 2 years in Gaza, and they still can't capture Gaza.
Yeah,
They can't capture.
And it's not, Gaza is not 14 miles by
25 miles by 5.
And
they're landlocked. They don't even have any sophisticated weaponry.
we gotta close. We opened with Sister Maryam. We go to Shamal and then Hasseb.
Okay, I'll end with two things. One, you can go to zamalsgy.com and you'll find there some Palestinian brochures. You can read for a good history. If you don't know the history, you will always start at October the 7th, and that's ridiculous. For those who keep stopping and telling me about October the 7th, I just want to give you quickly. There are like 54 massacres that took place since 1937. The Haifa massacre, the Jerusalem massacre, the Balad al-Sheikh massacre, the Haifa massacre, there was another Haifa massacre, the Abbasiyah massacre, and on. Israeli terrorist groups like the Haganah, right, murdered Palestinians.
Yeah.
And if I were to tell you that the Palestinians from October the 7th, 2022 to October the 7th, 2023, if I were to tell you that the Palestinians murdered about 300 Israelis, that the Palestinians built settlements, about 12,000 settlements, what would you say? You'd say nothing, because it wasn't the Palestinians that did that. It was the Israelis in that 1 year that murdered hundreds of Palestinians, incarcerated hundreds of Palestinians, built 12,000 settlements. What are you doing?
Yeah, we gotta go.
Right.
Go.
Okay.
Operators in my ear, Hasseb, and then we'll close with the Lebanese the Lebanese radical.
So I just want to state, we didn't get into the horrendous genocide because you know all of that. You see that the images are coming out. It's very clear. It's time for us to continue to step up our action and to join the protest movement, to join the global people's revolution, if you want to call that, to stop the genocide and to stop the occupation. We are not going to stop at the genocide alone. There's the occupation, there's the annexation, there's the
Siege.
siege. That is continuous.
Sister
We
Maryam?
have to
Yeah,
stop
I know
Israel from
time
doing what
is
they're
short.
doing.
Yeah,
I just
time
want to
is
say,
catch up.
please, Guyana, please let us take our place proudly in this global movement to end this genocide. That's Saturday, October 11th, 10 a.m., assembling at Umaniyana. And I just want to say, let us resurrect the cry of the South African anti-apartheid movement. Amandla Awetu. It means the power is with us.
Thanks for being with us for the 1 hour. You've had 1 hour of intense conscious raisingness on the part of 3 indefatigable Guyanese Palestinian activists, Shamal Zamaluddin, Brother Hasseb Yusuf, and from Lebanon, but also a Guyanese citizen, Maryam Perreira. Thanks for being with us. As all 3 of the speakers say, please raise your consciousness and do something for the people that have suffered the second worst tragedy in human history, the Gaza genocide, the first being slavery. Thanks for being with us. As I normally say, catch you later. Bye-bye.
Free Palestine.